Alright, I just want to walk you through the building blocks of a walk cycle in Maya. So I'm just going to reference in the character file, create reference, and bring in the latest version of the rig, right, version 8. Right, so I'm just going to start off with the contact positions, right? So those are usually the easiest to start off with in the walk, right? So I'm going to start off in this case. I'll put the right foot forward and leave the left one back. Alright, so I'm just going to try and put as much information as I can, right, into the pose. This is just a, not really a personality walk, just a regular, walk, just trying to get the mechanics of a walk. Right, so I'm just gonna add maybe just a little bit of rotation, right? I don't want to leave things default, right? Don't want to leave toes facing forward, because nobody walks with the toes absolutely, at a perpendicular angle, right? Okay, so I'm gonna leave this foot here, maybe push it in a bit more to the center. Right, so notice I'm clicking on the X there and not moving it this way, right, in object mode, because you see with object mode I'm losing the 0 on the translate Z, right? I want to keep that translate Z 0, so I'm just going to click on the translate X there and just move it in a little bit there, right? So that's a little trick in 3D, right? So I mean, to get this to cycle properly, right, we have to be mindful of values and that kind of thing, right? So we kind of have to be a little precise, right? More precise than you would in 2D, but in the end, it's a lot easier, right, to cycle. Right. So this one is on 0 in the translate Z, so I'm just going to bring this one forwards in the translate Z as well. Alright, so when you're posing this out, you don't want to, go too crazy, right, with the length of the stride, right? If you get up and you just do a regular walk, you'll see that, your heel really isn't that far in front of your toe, right, when you're taking a step. So I got to 3.8 here. I'm just gonna round that off to 4, right, and set the keyframe there. Alright, when I finish this pose, I'm just going to set a keyframe on all the controls, right? So I'm going to make that a habit, right, to set a keyframe on all of the controls. I'm going to make the hands, the arms, FK, right? Right, so as I said before, this foot here is on 0 in the translate Z, and this one is on 4 in translate Z. So these, the hips here, I'm just going to bring those forward in between the two legs, roughly around 2. So I'm just going to leave that at 2. Right, so with the right leg forward, right, these hips are naturally going to rotate in favor of the forward leg, like that, right? So just gonna give it a little bit of rotation, right, like that. And I'm gonna add some heel ball roll here for the contact, right? So remember that heel is now making contact, right? So make it so it just has maybe a slight bend, but mostly straight, right? And this one here is going to be peeling off the ground a little bit, right? But not too much like that, right? Just a little bit, as it's just starting to leave the ground there. Right, now a trick to get really small movements, right, when you're doing this is to hold on control, right? So click in the attributes and middle mouse and left or right, right? If I do that, it's giving me a large change, right? But if I hold on control, alright, I can do smaller increments and it's easier to get tiny little adjustments. Right? Cool. Alright, so now that the hips are angled this way, I need to counter it in the upper torso, right? Because when the right foot is forward, right, the left arm is going to swing forward with it. Alright, so I'm just going to counter this way. Alright, a little bit with the middle control and a little bit more with the upper torso control there. Gonna bring this one down. Give it a little forward rotation. Give it a little bend in the arm here. Alright, so I don't want to go too far forward and make this like a march or anything, right? Just kind of subtle. Alright, keeping it subtle and vanilla. Just trying to get a natural kind of feel with this arm here. Alright, and talking about natural, right? These fingers are just completely straight, right? So to make them feel relaxed, gosh, I keep forgetting to reference that geometry. Right. Alright, you want to add, you want to curl those fingers, right? But you don't want to just curl them all the same way. Right, these ones down here, they're gonna kind of radiate down, right? So you're gonna get more curled as you go down. Alright, so that's just naturally how your fingers tend to relax. Right, if you ever observe your hand when it's relaxed, your fingers are just gonna naturally kind of curl like that. Alright, so I'm just gonna relax. Could just relax this thumb a little bit, bring that down. And yeah, maybe just give this a little bend there. Alright, so it's feeling a bit more organic. Alright, and what we can do is, yeah. So bring this one down here now. This one will be a little more back here. Have a little bend on the arm there. Alright, so what we can do, using the picker, right, I can select the finger controls on this left hand here and set a keyframe, and I can right click and copy that key, select the oh boy, right, so this is something with the picker, right? When you select those controls, right, you want to, you see how this thing is just wanting to type here, you just need to click this window and get out of that so you can actually set the keyframe. Alright, and then right click, copy. I think I did cut by mistake there. So let me set that keyframe again. Right click, copy. Select the right fingers and then right click and paste. Alright, so you get the pose on the next hand, the same one for free. Right? Okay, so now that I have this pose more or less posed out, I'm going to select all the controls again, click here, and set the keyframe. Alright, so now I have my first contact position on frame 1, right? This is a 24 frame cycle that I'm making here. So the next, the final frame of the loop will be on frame 25. Right, so it's going to be more or less the same exact pose, right? In fact, it has to be the same exact pose for the loop to work. But in this case, right, it's going to be further forward, right? So I'm going to make a walk cycle, but it's going to be moving forward in space. So how do I know how far forward to translate this character? Well, right, we already know that the stride is 4 units, right? Because this foot here is 4 units in front of this foot. Alright, so that's one stride. So we're starting with the right foot forward and the left foot forward. Right, when the left foot comes forward, that foot is going to be 4 units ahead of this one. Alright, so that'll be 8 units, and then when the final foot comes forward, it's going to be 4 units ahead of that one. So it'll be 12 units, right? So which makes sense, right? So 3 steps in the loop. 3 times 4 is 12, right? So if this one is 4, right, it's going to end up being 12. So basically we're adding 8 to it, right? And what we can actually do with these controls is come in here and select that number and type in plus equals 8, enter, and that will set it to 12, right? Or 8 plus whatever it is there, right? So I just undid that. The reason why I did that is because we can actually do this on all 3 of the controls that we want to move forward, right? And the 3 controls that we want to move forward are the 2 feet controls and this main hip control. Alright, so with those 3 selected, I'm going to select this number here and go plus equals 8, enter, and press S to set the keyframe there. Alright, and I'm going to select all the controls here again, click here to deselect there, and press S, set a keyframe on all the controls. So now we see, right, we have the character sliding forwards from frame 1 to frame 25. Right, so we need the next contact position on frame 13. Alright, because that is 12 frames after frame 1, and frame 25 is another 12 frames after frame 13. Right, so if I just slide this forward here, right, the next contact position, right, since the first one has the right foot forward, the next one will be with the left foot forward. Right, so this right foot is going to stay in this same position until frame 13. So I'm just going to select this and middle mouse drag from frame 1 to frame 13, release and press S. Alright, so we see we're keeping that in position there. And now this foot here, alright, it's going to be 4 units in front of this foot, which is at 4 now. So this one is going to be 8 units ahead. Right, and we kind of just need to reverse the heel ball rolls on this guy, right? So this foot is going to have the heel contacting, and this one is going to be peeling off, right? So I see this one is 0.36 and this one is negative 0.23, right? So I'll just make this one negative 0.23 and make this one positive 0.36. Right. Yeah, so with the rest of the upper body now, we just have to make it the opposite of what it is now, right? So all these controls, I'm just going to take whatever value I see here, right, in the rotate X, and if it's a positive, I'll make it negative. If it's a negative, I'll make it positive, right? So I'll do that for all these torso controls here, all these rotate X's here. this one. Alright, now this one I could just kinda eyeball it a bit here as well. Now remember, the second contact pose doesn't have to be, you know, completely identical, you know, or completely opposite, but you know, we're just trying to get close, right? But the first and the last in the cycle have to be completely identical. Alright, I'm gonna make sure to select all the controls again and set a keyframe on all of them there, right? Okay, so now we have our main contact positions for the walk cycle. So now let's see if we can actually, you know, make the cycle, right? So right now he's just going through one cycle and then he's stopping, right? So we want to have him continue walking forwards past frame 25. Alright, so with all my controls selected, I'm going to go into the graph editor, Windows Animation Editor's graph editor. Alright, it looks like all my curves here are displaying by default. I'm going to select all of them here and go to curves, post infinity, cycle. Alright, so that will work for most of these here. So if I play it now, we'll see, right, that walk is cycling over and over. But what's happening though, it looks like he's going back to the starting point and coming back here every time in the cycle where we really want him to continue walking forwards, right? So what we need to do is for the controls that make him go forwards, right, in particular his 2 feet and this main hip control, we want to do something special with the translate Z's of those controls in the graph editor. So I'm just going to isolate the translate Z's using control to select all of them together. Alright, select them, and I'm just gonna go to view infinity, right? So we actually see these curves are looping here. Alright, but now if I go to curves, post infinity, and this time I'm going to choose cycle with offset. Alright, and you'll see the curves now continue upwards. So if I play this now, right, you'll see he's sliding forwards, right, or shuffling forwards, right? So he's not really walking yet, obviously, because we don't have all the necessary keys as yet, but this is basically the building blocks here, right, for a walk cycle, and a walk cycle that, you know, will continue going forwards in space, right? But what is really important here is, you know, making sure that each one of these steps is the same distance apart, right? Because if they're not, then, you know, your walk cycle can become skewed as he continues walking in space. Alright, so in the next video I'll just show you a more refined version of this and the breakdowns that I included, right, to make it more refined.